Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to TCG University. It's me, Noah, here doing a deck profile for, as you can see, Fire Zander using the level 3 Blinding Steel. We're going to go ahead and get this cool thing started with our material deck. This is still a work in progress for me. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go off the Fire Zander list that was also at the Houston event, because I saw there were a couple there. But currently, this is what I had built beforehand, and I have not updated it just yet, so be on the lookout for that. First, we start off with Spirit of Fire, since we're playing Fire. I think it's the best way to do it. On enter, draw 7 cards, 15 health. We picked this over the Serene Spirit of Fire just because, as cool as Glimpsing is, we do have a couple cards in here that will do that for us. Plus, I think having that extra card, whether it be 7 cards on the first turn or 8 cards on turn 2, is just really good to have. So that's that one. Next, level 1 Zander, Prepared Scout. On enter, you glimpse 2, and then you put a preparation counter on Zander, so we already have glimpsing starting without needing to play the Serene Spirit. We already get it at level 1. We get to see the top 2 cards of our deck. We gain a prep counter for any special cards that we'll end up seeing later on, and it just sets us up. Usually we kind of hang around, at least when the way I play, I hang around Zander level 1 the longest, level 2 the shortest, and then level 3 for endgame if I really need to go that far. But level 1, 19 health, super basic, the weakest version, which makes this deck a little rush down, depending on how you... Sorry, my mic keeps moving. Depending on... So usually if you're going for a kill, this is where the Zander comes really in help, or really in handy. Otherwise, he's just a 22 health guy. And then we move on to his level 3 that we play, which is Blinding Steel. This is the one that a lot of Water Zander, or every Water Zander plays, because nobody wants to play the one that protects themselves, when you can reveal your memory at the beginning of Recollection. And for each special element revealed this way, your opponent puts a card from hand into memory. The whole goal of this deck is to hit them as hard and fast as you can. And then also, if you make it to level 3, by whatever miraculous reason, you kind of stabilize and you just keep healing off of Luxem sites. You keep putting cards into their memory so they just have less interaction with you. Then on to the supporting elements. Or not elements, but the supporting cards. We have Orb of Regret. If my hand's garbage, Orb of Regret is essentially a pseudo mulligan. Shuffle 3 into the deck, draw that many cards that you shuffled. Do be careful if there's a Tithe Proclamation on the field and you didn't play it, your opponent played it last turn, you're only getting 2 cards back, so you probably only need to shuffle 2 in to draw 2, stuff like that. But I think Orb of Regret's a really super good card. It deserves to be an SR for what it does. Next one, we play a copy of Blinding Orb. Blinding Orb says you can banish it, and each opponent puts 2 cards from their hand into their memory. Your class bonus is draw a card. Almost every other card in here besides the weapons give you the ability to draw. I mean, technically, even Orb of Regret will help you cycle through your deck a bit more. It gives you the ability to draw cards, which I think is very important. Fire is really good at cycling. Fire is really good at drawing cards, and I think having things like this will also help. Fire also does have a good chunk of ways to dispose of floating memory into your graveyard, so you can use them later. Next one, we have Tithe Proclamation. I think this card's nutty insane. This card, in my opinion, shuts down mage decks almost single-handedly. Tithe Proclamation is a 1 cost that says on enter, draw a card, and then players can't draw more than 3 cards each turn unless it's their first turn of the game, which this card almost never gets played on the first turn, so you're only ever drawing 3 cards a turn. It does hinder you playing Fire, because Fire can really start drawing multiple cards a turn if it wanted to, so you do have to plan around that and limit yourself a bit more. But the bonus of this is that against any mage deck, it tells them they're only allowed to draw 3 cards on their turn, and 3 cards on your turn. So they only get to see 6 cards between both turns, which is still a lot, but it's more than like 7 to 8 to 9, or, you know, it's banned now. But people being able to loop Sword of Avarice, or people being able to play their entire hand down and then go, oh, I'll play my, oh god, what was the other? Not Power Overwhelming. Wow, I forgot the other card that got banned. I'm so bad at this game. Sorry, guys. It'll pop up on the screen here, though. But yeah, so Tithe Proclamation. Next one, we play Choking Orb, or sorry, Orb of Choking Fumes. I don't play this one as much. It is really nice to have, though. If my opponent is playing like a rushdown deck, where they play a bunch of allies in multiple turns, I think this card's really good because it makes everything cost 1 more. Even against mage decks, it's not terrible because they kind of play around almost exact numbers of paying costs for everything. So this card's really good to make everything cost 1 more for their turn. Even on your turn, it's really nice, and your class bonus is your draw card, which is like the whole point of it. Next, we play a copy of Grand Crusader's Ring because it just says draw card. This card is probably one of the best relics in the or regalia items in the game. It's one of 2 divine relics that we have currently, and I think it's still the better of the divine relics, even though I really like the cheeky things you can potentially do at Quicksilver Girl. This just saying draw card is insane. And then for one of the weapons we play Assassin's Ripper. It's a 1/2. Class bonus, you can tap it, remove a prep counter, and it gains 2 attack. Or 2 damage, sorry, until the end of the turn, which is really nice and synergizes with things like 1,000 refractions. When you decide to play that, you hit for a lot more than you think. And I think it's always just nice to have a weapon to sacrifice for Blazing Throw after we've used Assassin's Ripper. Next one, we also play a copy of Varuk and Soul Knife. This card is essentially just a free weapon you can keep popping out by either banishing 3 cards or 3 fire element cards from your graveyard, or when you attack with it, even though it has 1 durability, on kill, it goes back into your material deck, so then you can bring it back out into your next materialization phase. It's a 1/1, so it's not super big, but because of the way Zander plays and how he pokes things down, it is really good for getting that final kill shot. And then the last card we play, which obviously is one of the best cards in the game, is Poison Dagger. I think this card's generically good. It's not class bonus related, which is super cool. Well, my bad. It is generically good because it just deals a damage, but it's better under Assassin because of the class bonus. I keep forgetting that that is a class bonus. So Poison Dagger says it enters the field rested, and then on the next turn you can tap and banish it and deal a point of damage to a target unit, and then your class bonus says until the end of turn, if that target would take damage, it takes that much or that damage plus 1 instead. I do want to specify, because I did also have to double check this for ourselves. Poison Dagger will deal the initial 1 damage, and then if you have the class bonus from after that initial damage is dealt, every other damage gets an extra 1. It doesn't deal 2 and then every other one gets a bonus. It's just 1. So that sums up our cool fire material deck that we have here. We're going to put this off to the side, and we're going to get to the main deck. So to start off, I play 2 copies of Vital Thoughts. I think this card is just generically good. Again, it's a scry card. Essentially, it lets you see the top 4 cards of your deck, put them in any order you want, and it has floating memory. It's a great turn 1 opener. Honestly, at any point in the game, I feel like this card's worth playing because it just lets you stack up your next few draws. Whoop. After that, we play 3 copies of Thieving Cut because we gain prep counters. We don't gain them super fast in fire, unfortunately, but because we gain prep counters, this card says that on hit, if it was prepared, we get to draw a card, and it only costs 1 prep counter to prepare it, which is really good. So it's essentially a 2/3 that draws you a card, so it replaces itself, which I think is very important in this game, especially going into set 3, because set 3 looks like, from what we've seen from the initial set of spoilers, has a lot of cool cards that are going to be able to replace themselves. So this card already doing it in set 2 was just really nuts, in my opinion. I think it's a really solid card. All assassins should play this if they gain prep counters. Next one, we play 4 copies of Juggle Knives. This card is sick. I prefer to use this card at the end of my opponent's turn. If I draw multiple, I will play all of them. Deal 1 damage to target champion. Super simple, super easy. It's not attack damage. It's so it gets around a lot of cool things that negate or prevent attack damage. And then class bonus, you draw a card. So you pay 2, play it. It's a fast action, which is obviously the coolest part about it. Pay 2, play it, shoot him for 1. Oh, did you draw another one? Do you have 2 more cards to use it for whatever reason? Pay 2, do it again. I almost always feel like this should be played at the end of the opponent's turn because it's fast action. There's not much else they can do. They kind of just use all their resources and probably have a little bit to interact on your turn, but not really much to interact with the end of their turn, or else they just lose the interaction. So yeah, this card is super cool. Next, we play 4 copies of Ignited Stab. Again, we're playing an assassin, we're playing under fire. These are kind of cards that just have to go in at the moment. We're only 2 sets into the game at the point of making this. The 3rd set will come out in January. I'm recording this currently in October, so that's before that happens. So Ignited Stab is a 2 damage attack that says you can prepare it for 1 prep counter, and then on attack, if it was prepared, it gets +2 attack. So it's basically a 1-for-4, which is super cool. I think Seeking Shot is nuts because Seeking Shot says if you're attacking a human ally, it deals 4 damage, so it almost guarantees a kill on a human ally. Ignited Stab basically does the same, but it costs a prep counter instead, and it needs the class bonus. This card never gets played unless it's in assassins anyways. After that, we also play cards that are mandatory to play in a fire assassin deck, in my opinion. We play 4 copies of Mark the Target. They give me a prep counter due to our class bonus. It's a fast action. It costs 1 to play, and it also deals a point of damage to the opponent, which is really cool for a card that we're about to show here in just a second, which is I'm only playing 3 copies of Immolation Trap. Immolation Trap, it costs 2 less to activate as your class bonus, so it's always free to play because you're an assassin. It's an assassin reaction, which is super cool. And then it just says destroy damaged ally. So if they have a super big dude like a Majestic Spirit Crest out, or even if they have a Crawl out, as long as you're able to hit them for 1 point of damage, you can Immolation Trap for free and get rid of it. Because it's not a spell, it gets around Spell Shroud. And I think that's super nuts. I think action cards are really insane because there's nothing that defends you from an action card. Spell Shroud defends you from spells, and Stealth defends you from attacks, but action cards will always hit their targets. Next, we play what I think is one of the nuttiest cards under fire, but I'm only playing 3 copies of it currently. We play 3 copies of Increasing Danger. This is a great opener. I almost want to bump this up to 4, actually, just because I think this card's so insane. Increasing Danger is a slow speed 2 cost that says you draw a card, and then each player draws a card into their memory. So on turn 1, this card just sets you up to have more hand to use for turn 2, 3, and forward on, as long as you're able to maintain your hand efficiently. I think this card's super nuts. It is a mage spell, which kind of makes sense. This was meant for Rye initially, but I think this card in general for anything that plays fire should play at least 2, if not 3 copies of the card. And then we play 3 copies of Cremation Ritual. I used to not like this card. I used to think this card was so dumb. Why do I want to destroy a dude to pay 3 and draw 2? But cycling through your deck is very important in this game, and I think... Hey there, Future Noah. Unfortunately, my mic cut out at this part, so we're gonna have a 5-6 minute span where I'm talking at you from the future. Creative Shock. It can blow up cool things like Kingdom Informant. I thought this card was really bad, as I previously stated, but this card got really good when I realized that it just gives me the ability to cycle even more, draw 2 cards. You can use it to blow up things like Kingdom Informant, to add floating memory, and to also net cards. It's super simple. It also just fills up your graveyard with more fire cards if you wanted to as well. Kingdom Informant's the next card we have coming up, obviously. Kingdom Informant has Stealth. It's a 1/2 that has class bonus of floating memory. The real good part is the floating memory aspect of Kingdom Informant. Honestly, that's like half the reason I play it. Otherwise, it has Stealth, and I can kind of decide when I want to kill it off because of that. Up next, we play 2 copies of Hasty Messenger. You can honestly play 2 to 3 copies of this card if you wanted to. Hasty Messenger is generically good. It's a 2 cost 1/2 that says on attack, discard a card and draw, so you do have to have a card in hand to be able to cycle, but it does cycle you, which is really nuts. It's a fire card, so if need be, I can sack it off with Cremation Ritual when I'm done doing what I want to do with it, and it also just fills up my graveyard with more fire cards, which is the whole point for Rending Flames, which we'll see later. Then we have Lurking Assailant up next. Lurking Assailant is a 3 cost 2/3 that has Stealth as long as it's awake, and then it also, at level 1 and up, says that it can retaliate against attackers while not defending. Meaning you can put your opponent in a weird situation where they have to be selective about what they attack with, because you can always just throw 2 damage at it. And the cool thing is, you can stack Lurking Assailants. So if I have, for instance, these 2 Lurking Assailants out, I will eventually tap them to show, hiya, I just retaliated with both of them right about now. Just kidding, I didn't guess that right. But yeah, that's generally the gist of it, is that Lurking Assailant gives you, oh, there it goes, gives you that cool ability to retaliate against things, even while Lurking Assailant's not being attacked. So it's a really good defensive piece, in my opinion, not so much offensive. And then, we'll see what the next card is, because I completely forgot. This is while I'm editing. Be sure to check out the videos that might pop up here. The Zander gameplay, it's always fun. Next cards, come on. There we go. Korhazi Courier. Korhazi Courier is a 3 cost 1/2 that has Stealth by nature, which is really good, and says class bonus on hit, you draw a card, then discard a card. If a fire element card was discarded, choose a unit and deal 1 damage to it. So a couple cool things that this does is that it syncs up with Immolation Trap, which I will showcase here on the screen in just a moment, but it also fills up your graveyard with fire element cards, so you can use things like Rending Flames, and it just cycles you through your deck even more. And realistically, this card, because it deals an extra damage to any unit, if you discard a fire element, basically does 2 damage. It almost kind of pays for itself, honestly. There's the Immolation Trap. I think anything that combos with Immolation Trap is just really good. It just makes that card better. Immolation Trap is a terrible card unless it has something to build off of, and this deck does have a lot of ping 1 abilities that it builds from, which I think is really nice. Next, we have 3 copies of Korhazi Arsonist. I think this card is meh, but it is a fire card, and it is, you know, pretty okay. So Korhazi Arsonist is a 3-cost 2/2, really solid stats, that says I can remove a prep counter whenever I want from my champion and give it stealth until end of turn, which is okay. Fire has a really hard time building prep counters as it is, so I kind of want to be selective when I use them. But the cool thing is the static that it has at the bottom that says if a unit hit by Korhazi Arsonist this turn would die, banish it instead. Library Witch, banish, no card draw. Bedivere, banish, no ability on death to put cool buff counters on anything because they don't technically die and go to the graveyard, they get banished. And it does say anything hit by Korhazi Arsonist, meaning this doesn't have to be the card that kills it. The next card we have coming up is going to be Gawain, right about now. I'm still talking about Korhazi Arsonist for some reason. Gawain, Chivalrous State. Card's insane. I think this card's amazing. So this card is a 2-cost 1/1, terrible stats, but that's fine because of the cool abilities that Gawain has. Gawain has level 2+, True Sight, solid, but also has the class bonus on hit. You may sacrifice Gawain, and if you do, look at the opponent's memory and discard a card from it. It's look and not reveal, which is always really good to know, especially because when it's look and when you're playing with multiple people it matters. But also it's the fact that Gawain can snipe a card out of their hand, basically. It's a discard, or a way to discard in this game. It combos with a lot of cool things underwater, because water's really good at it. Plus, it has the Ranger class, meaning it will be very important, in my opinion. This is a card you'll probably see at least at a 2 of index when Diana comes out in set 3, which is Alchemical Revolutions. At the time we're recording this, it is October, so set 3 does not come out for October, November, December, 3 more months. But we're getting there. We're getting close. I'm getting hyped. We just saw our first set of spoilers for it too. The next card we have coming up is a super basic card. I think it's like the biggest staple in all the fire, besides like maybe Increasing Danger. It's Creative Shock. Thank you. Put the card down now. Creative Shock. Creative Shock is super simple. It's basically this game's version of Graceful Charity, if you ask me. Costs 3 to play, and then you get to draw 2 cards and discard 1, so it cycles through your deck as usual, which is super nuts. Because I think this game really benefits from being able to cycle, which is why they got rid of cards like Sword of Avarice and Conversion. Next one is Blazing Throw. Blazing Throw is super simple. It deals 4 damage by you sacrificing a weapon, and it costs 1 to do. The only weapons that we play in this deck that are sacrificable are going to be the Assassin's Ripper and the Verucan Soul Knife. It feels bad to get rid of them, but at that point when you're using Blazing Throw, you're kind of committing, in my opinion, for like your big push to kill with that turn or the turn after. You would almost have to. Assassin's Ripper, you want to use it like as much as possible, but what you could do is you can Verucan Soul Knife, kill something, put it back, remove 3, play Verucan Soul Knife, pay 1, Blazing Throw, boom. It's super convoluted and complicated, but it does do its job if need be. I'm putting those back in their spot. And then lastly, before I get to kick back in with the actual deck profile, not this, posting, is Raining Flames, which is super cool. It's a 3-cost, 3 damage that says, on attack you may banish 3 fire element cards from your graveyard, and if you do, Raining Flames gains whenever this attack would deal damage, it deals double that damage instead. Which I will state, instead of dealing 3, it will deal 6, starting somewhere around here. Sorry for any awkward pauses. I am so sorry about that. My mic cut out. So it essentially deals 6 damage, which is super nuts. 6 damage is a very high number in this game when damage numbers are generally low, like 1 to 2 to 3 at most, generally. This card, for sure, I would bump up to a 3 or 4, as previously stated. I currently just only own 2 copies. That's just the limitations of my own collection. But otherwise, I think if you were going to play this deck out, I think you play with at least 3, if not 4 copies of Raining Flame. Next, I play 4. I'm probably going to cut that down to 3 or 2. Sorry, 3 or 2 copies of Fractal of Insight. I think fractals are super cool, and this basically generating a free reserve point or reserve cost is really good by just tapping it. But the cool thing about it is the on-enter ability. You pay 2, you play it, and you tap it, and then you get to glimpse the top 2 cards of your deck. So I get to see what cards I want, and if I want to keep them, I can stack them in any way I need. That's the only reason I really play this, is for the glimpse, not even so much for the reserve ability. And then on to the... it's so funny to me. The Advanced elements, we play 4 copies of Luxem Sight because Luxem Sight's nuts. It says either draw a card, so it cycles, or it says heal 3 by revealing. It's super self-explanatory. Card's really nice. Might as well play 4 of it. Next, we play 1 copy of 1,000 Refractions because I think only 1 copy is all you ever really need to play of this card. 1,000 Refractions hits for 1 damage, costs nothing to play. You can prepare it, and then class bonus on hit, if it was prepared, you wake up your champion and you add this back to your hand. So the whole thing is you load up on prep counters if you have extra, and you just 1,000 Refractions, 1,000 Refractions, 1,000 Refractions. You add in things like Poison Dagger, and you add in things like Assassin's Ripper. So you at least get 2 good attacks out of Assassin's Ripper if you want. So you can hit for 4, 5, or sorry, yeah, 4, 5. If you're playing level 2 Zander, 6 if they're tapped, and then Poison Dagger, 7. Like, for nothing. You can hit for 7 off of that. Without Assassin's Ripper, it would just be 1, 2, 3 from Zander. So 3 total, which is still really good. Last card we have here. We need some good form of removal, and I think the best form of removal, besides maybe Excalibur for some things, I just decided to play Uther. I think Uther's really cool. He has Intercept and Vigor, which is really nice because you kind of need that defense if you can get it. He's a 4/4, that costs 4, that's fair enough. That says on enter, not a cost bonus, which I think is really nuts. On enter, you can rest him, and if you do, you can banish another target non-champion object. So literally anything that's not a champion, you get to banish. And then on leave, that banished object comes back. So if you on enter, you get to tap them, get rid of a thing, and then if they end up managing to kill Uther, it comes back in, but it comes back in rested, so you don't have to worry about it for a turn. So this sums up the Fire Zander deck. The sideboard, I generally just like to throw out cards that I think are worth playing. So we'll have things like Varuk and Acolyte, I think is really good. Because it gets rid of Nullifying Lantern, which is one of Fire's biggest weaknesses. I think sorry, adding in spicy tech pieces are... This deck does need a board wipe, but you're not really gaining levels super much, so you'd be playing 5 at the best. Sparklight is really good for just 2 damage. That's unpreventable. It's 2, it's fast, kills anything that realistically that you would need it to kill. You can play Crimson. Oh god, is it the Crimson Trinket? The one that lets your opponent reveal 2 cards out of their memory, and if they're win cards, you get to discard one of them, or both of them, I believe. You discard all win cards. I have to double check that one again. But these are just a couple of things that I throw out there. I think Fire Zander's nuts. I think Fire Zander has a lot of potential as it stands. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the characters that we have from Dawn of Ashes and Fraction Crown are going to get pushed to the side for the new characters that come in Alchemical Revolution, which is fine because they're new characters, and we've had 2 sets with these ones, and they still function pretty fine. I'm very interested to see what cards cross over and can make these ones better, and what cards from here will improve or add to what we get from Alchemical Revolutions. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, James would say, stay alert.